Buckeyes off this week. They next play a week from this coming Saturday when they host Maryland. As we welcome in Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyeHuddle.com. Gerd, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about that atmosphere in South Bend. I think it lived up to the hype. It lived up to the billing. The light show there at the beginning of the fourth quarter with all the green wristbands was very well done. It was everything that everyone expected out of this matchup between Ohio State and Notre Dame.
Everything everyone expected, everything almost everyone hoped for. It was my first time there, and it certainly lived up to the expectations. Having watched games there on television for however many years, and to finally be there and experience it and then be down on the field for the last few minutes of it was it's a bucket list. Check one there for that trip for sure.
What will be the lasting legacy of this game? Will it be the Trip Tranum touchdown? Will it be the Ohio State victory? Or will it be Ryan Day's post-game rants?
Well, yeah, I do wonder how much longer that stuff, the Ryan Day stuff, will continue on. But we are now in a social media society where things may pass quickly, but also sometimes they can last and linger because people like talking about it because it gets clicks, it gets eyeballs. So yeah, the win is the lasting legacy, but I think the rant is maybe the cherry on top. It's the empty calories of this whole scenario, and it almost takes away from the win because it's its own thing. So it was very odd, not odd. The whole situation is odd, but a coach defending his team, it shouldn't be odd. But I think the oddest part of this is that Lou Holtz was basically just the poster boy for something that many people have said about Ohio State. Lou Holtz ended up being the picture put up on the dartboard basically for Ryan Day. And it was a collective message to Holtz for sure, to other critics, to Ohio State fans who have been criticizing Ohio State as well. And through all of this, afterwards, Ryan Day says, that narrative is now dead. And it's not, because the narrative started with Michigan and it has to end. It has to come full circle. That's how these things go. It has to end with a win over Michigan.
Absolutely. And the substance of what Lou Holtz had to say, I think, was proven true in the game, because you look at the third quarter and the fourth quarter, Notre Dame had no problem running the ball against Ohio State. The Ohio State offense was not on the field very long, so that defense was very much gassed in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame just marched down the field in their two scoring drives, and really it looked like they were poised to do that again in the fourth quarter. And then it changed on 2 or 3 snaps where JT Tuilamoau made 2 big plays, helped with Lathan Ransom on one of them as well, and that maybe turned the tide defensively and got the ball back for Ohio State.
Yeah, I remember thinking or tweeting at some point late in the third that Notre Dame doesn't need to throw the ball anymore, because at that point, the defensive line, the Ohio State defensive line, and really the front 7 was losing the battle, and Notre Dame kept pushing. And then inexplicably, Notre Dame went to the air and put the ball in Sam Hartman's hands more than the running game's hands. And I think that really allowed Ohio State to get back in it. Talking with Jim Knowles after the game, I asked him, how were you able to basically change the momentum of the game? And he cited toughness, the defensive toughness. I think he also needs to cite the play calling for Notre Dame that got Ohio State back into this. And there was a lot of that going around on Notre Dame's part, let's just say.
Well, certainly. I mean, every game there's a winner and there's a loser, but sometimes a team loses a game more than the other team wins the game. And let's face it, some curious play calling from Notre Dame, only having 10 men on the field for the last couple of snaps when Ohio State had the ball. There's certainly a case to be made that Notre Dame lost this game.
100%. And I think that is completely fair. And Marcus Freeman will probably agree with you and maybe never admit it. And it's never going to go away. It's always going to be a burr that just continues to prick the skin, and he's not going to be alone, because it's not just his responsibility. All of the defensive coaches, I mean, these teams, these programs have gigantic staffs, and nobody Nobody counted to 11 on either of those plays. To have 10 players out there for one play, maybe you write that off. For two plays in a row in that situation, when a position coach doesn't look and see, hey, I've only got 3 guys out there, I should have 4 guys out there. The number of balls dropped in this last fourth quarter by Notre Dame staff has to have Marcus Freeman questioning himself, questioning his coaches, and really there should be players questioning coaches and all of these things going on right now based on just that last moment. And also, like you said, the play calling early on or in the fourth quarter with going away from the run when I don't really think they needed to.
Certainly a positive Ohio State takes away from this. They got the win. Kyle McCord's performance, particularly on that final drive on the third downs, the fourth down conversion as well. This was a moment where Kyle McCord stepped up, and you can understand why he was a highly touted quarterback and the reason why Ryan Day trusts him with this offense this season.
Yeah, and remember going back a few weeks when Ryan Day was talking about what the tiebreaker would be for the quarterback battle. He was going to find the guy that could get this done, that final drive that could will the team to a victory. And that's what Kyle McCord did. And it wasn't really ever pretty. He had some really nice throws there in that fourth quarter on that final drive, but he also had some bad throws on that final drive. One that was a dropped interception essentially. And, he got away with some stuff, but when it had to happen, he was making those throws. And it reminded me a little bit of Craig Krenzel in 2002, where it wasn't always pretty, but he made the plays. And I think Kyle McCord is a higher level quarterback than Craig Krenzel, but the number of third and fourth downs that they were able to convert compared to the first and second downs, the ups and downs of the first and third downs and things like that is really what made this that fourth quarter and that last drive so interesting. That those first 2 throws, especially Kyle McCord, it looked like the moment was too big for him. The 2 throws into the flats that weren't close. It's like, well, you can expect, you can appreciate this being too big for a kind of a new starter. But then he was, third and long, he was zipping them in there. So just a really big moment to grow from. The confidence that he gains, the confidence that his teammates gain in him, the confidence that his coaches gain in him, and all of the confirmations that, yes, this is why he was the starter.
Our colleague Dave Briggs from the Toledo Blade christening it Holy Buckeye 2, shades of Craig Krenzel 2002 against Purdue. Perhaps some confidence can be gained from the offensive line for finally getting that short yardage situation, that final touchdown, although there was plenty of times where that offensive line did not get the push they needed. You look back at the not converting in the second quarter inside the 5-yard line, and then the end around with Emeka Egbuka it was 4th and 1 at the 11, not converting there. They finally did convert that final play. We'll see if that can be a confidence booster for the offensive line going forward.
Yeah, and the questions about toughness and Ryan Day coming out and going off like that, and yet the play calling itself shows that Day questions his own team's ability to pick up those short yardage. When you're throwing for it on 4th and 1, when you're running a fly sweep on 4th and 1, that tells you think that is a better option than just running forward and getting 1 yard. And when they also went to their jumbo package, getting rid of the receivers and bringing in Caden Curry, a defensive end at fullback, extra tight ends, and just congesting the entire area because you're not confident enough in your 5 offensive linemen and tight end to create a push. Like there's some confirmation there of what people are saying. And yeah, they missed their first 4 fourth down attempts on the ground. They got that last one. That's going to be the lasting memory of this game. But this is just a start of more games to come, better defenses. Penn State and Michigan watch this game. They see Ohio State essentially given a gift in many aspects in this game. And they no doubt see some areas where they can exploit, where they will attempt to exploit. So I think this is just a start, and it gets tougher and tougher as the season goes on.
What almost was also a lasting memory for the second year in a row, seeing a star wide receiver get hurt against Notre Dame as Marvin Harrison Jr., the sprained ankle. Now, he did come back, did have a couple of catches following that sprained ankle in the Travion Henderson touchdown run, but certainly having a week off is a good time for Ohio State, particularly for Marvin Harrison Jr. to rest up that ankle. We found out he played last year on a sprained ankle most of the year. You don't want to see that again this season.
I don't know. He was pretty good last year on the sprained ankle. I don't know why you wouldn't want to see more of that, but yeah, this is a good time. It seems strange to think like after 4 games, it would be a good time to have a bye week, but this was a very physical game for everybody involved. So it gives you some time to rest up. I think it also gives time for Ohio State to come down off of this high because I think it might be tough to come down and then play that next Saturday and be at the top of your game and be as focused as you should be. How many times have we seen letdown games happen and perhaps even a loss? But this, yeah, having Marvin Harrison get that week off, get that ankle back to where it needs to be, because watching him go down like that, it felt like Ohio State needs to stop scheduling Notre Dame. If you value your receivers at all, stop scheduling this program. But it was good to see him get back on the field. And once he left the field, went into the tent, I had one eye on the medical tent, one eye on the field, just waiting for him to come out to see what kind of situation he was in. And he was out after a few minutes, jumping up and down, running around, trying to get back on the field, telling the guys, "I'm ready to go in," and them holding him back. So he definitely wanted to get back out there. And you saw he still made a couple of catches later in that game once he was back in there.
And Ryan Day talked about the impact of Harrison being in the game, even if he wasn't 100%, that perhaps opened up some things for Emeka Egbuka. And certainly we heard from Marcus Freeman after the game that the threat of going back to Harrison on that 3rd and goal play is part of the reason why they didn't call a time, or they didn't have a timeout to call. Part of the reason why they didn't send in that 11th defender. They thought they were going to go back to Harrison, which they did on the first down play. Ended up not happening. Buckeyes 17-14 win over Notre Dame, perhaps lost in that victory. Ohio State's NCAA record streak of scoring 20 or more points is now over. They'll try and start a new one a week from this Saturday against Maryland. I want to thank Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyeHuddle.com for his thoughts and insights on the Buckeye football program. Thanks, Gerd.
Thank you, Mark.